Achieving inclusive and equitable quality education, that is the Sustainable Development Goal, item number 4, SDG 4. And that's the goal of governments across the world. Everyone is talking about how do we sustain education beyond now. The pandemic is still raging, but still there is projection about the post-COVID-19 era already. And that spurred the Ministry of Education in Anambra State, comprising the Ministries of Basic and Tertiary Education, to come up with an e-conference on education to discuss the challenges and the way forward. I am Ify Aronu-Okafor, and on today's edition of the Light TV show, we'll take a look at an exclusive interview that I had ahead of the e-conference with a most distinguished personality in Anambra State, somebody that you want to hear from on where the education system in the state is going at this time. Let's catch up on the other side. Education family in Anambra State, comprising the Ministry of Basic Education and the Ministry for Tertiary Education, have come up with what we call the e-conference on education in Anambra State. The team, led by the Honorable Commissioner for Basic Education in the state, Professor Kate Omenuga, is here for a brief chat with the Governor of Anambra State, Sir Willie Obiano. It's good to have you, Your Excellency.
Thank you, Ify.
Your Excellency, let's hit it really hot now. And what do you have to say about that? And of course, your goodwill message as the ministry goes on this very important event.
You know, COVID has brought a lot of changes in the whole world. The way we do things, the way we live, and also the way we educate our children. And we will not lag behind there. If you recall, about 2015, we started training our teachers. One teacher, one laptop. We achieved that to about 80%, but we're going to finish the 20% about now. We're also encouraging students to own palm tops and iPads and what have you to assist them. You know, if you watch what we're doing since this COVID issue came up, the teaching on air and what have you, not all the students avail themselves of those opportunities for very good reasons. People in remote areas who may not have radio sets to listen to, not to talk of television sets. People in very far areas, and again, technology. Most of the people are not very techy to be able to to understand all the stuff. So we need to do a lot of training, a lot of awareness. And this e-conference is to situate this particular objective of ours in a proper perspective, you know. And I think it's something that I encourage immensely. I want to wish that conference a great success. I will be part of it if it doesn't conflict my another program, you know. So I really want that done very quickly. It is the way to go for the future. You know, COVID has come to stay with us. Except a vaccine is found very soon. Even when vaccine is found, it will be another malaria. You know, so it's really come to stay with us. So we must find a way to adapt and educate our children instead of allowing them to wallow in idleness that will lead to other chain reaction, crime, and what have you. You know, to get them engaged. In principle, what we want to do, and we're putting out so much money to buy radio sets, to buy computers for teachers, to continue the training we started since 2015, and you know, we've really come a long way. I don't think we're going to lag behind at all in this area.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Now you've given us an insight on your plans for tech in education. Now let us talk about your message. What do you have to say to Umuakwụkwọ in the Anambra at this time about your resolve to ensure that they do not have lagged behind, really?
Well, the Anambra students have been exceptional in many ways. If you watch, they've been coming tops in major exams, and our teachers have also been excellent. So having said that, we will not take it for granted. We will continue to educate many more until they come into the bracket that we're looking at, the real bracket of excellence. For the youths and our students, I'm going to tell them that there's there's a change, a paradigm shift in the way they used to learn, and they have to quickly brace up to be able to continue being on top, and to be able to do that, of course, they have to pass through some training that, like the Ministry of Basic Education is doing now. They should be able to have the tools, the iPad, the implements, the phones, and what have you. Before, we were thinking phones would be a distraction, but now it's a new change. Phones are very relevant, particularly smart ones, to be able to watch teaching on air, being able to listen to programs, being able to communicate, and what have you. One of the things this COVID has told us is that the number of people we used to have in the classrooms are no longer being the same. Shaking of hands, all those kind of stuff, no longer the same. People have to wash hands, keep social distance, and probably wear face mask at this point until the vaccine is found. So these are really strange ways of learning, but they are new, and we can key into that. One thing I can assure you is that the Anambra students will adapt very easily to this program, and this training that is slated, the e-training that you guys are about to have, is going to be a very welcome development in underscoring what I've just said.
Lastly, Your Excellency, what's the future? What do you see, your projection, the long-term view that you have about tech in education in our state, Anambra?
Well, we have always had this vision that our students, our teachers must brace up to the new challenges of the world. And that's why we started in 2015. As of now, by now, 80% of our teachers own their own laptop, and they pass through various trainings to be able to use them. Remember a few trainings we have sent our people to Singapore, Singapore in particular. You saw what our students did in Technovation contest in California. They came tops, and these are techie things, and you can't achieve them without proper planning, without proper training, without proper equipment, and without proper facilitators. That is well-trained teachers that are versatile in what they're doing, and they're confident to be able to impact knowledge. Most of these teachers didn't pass through this kind of a program in their time, so they must have to learn like the students they're teaching. So it's an important area. So the future of Anambra education will be techie-based. Precisely, teaching on air has come to play. I must commend the Commissioner of Basic Education for that wonderful program. I learned every time in the morning when I tune into that program, I'm delighted. I do learn some things myself, like in physics, when they were talking about mass and all those stuff. It reminded me of my good old days, at CKC. So technological education is very critical. ICT foundations, we are laying the infrastructure. Anambra has given right of way to the telcos to do their trunk for the VSATs and what have you, the bandwidth thing. And without bandwidth, you can't do much with receiving television and what have you. We have given them free right of way. We're only two in Nigeria that have done that, Anambra State and Kaduna State. The rest are still charging one thing or the other. But what we are going to gain by allowing those bandwidths to be laid in our territory will outweigh the revenue we'll generate by picking up those stuff. So we're laying the foundation, and this administration, before I leave office, would have laid that foundation so that other governors that come can tap into that and expand the horizon.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for your time. We appreciate you, Sir Willie Obiano, for granting us audience today. The Executive Governor of Anambra State, Chief Sir Willie Obiano, on the Light TV show. Now, let's get a sense of the deliberations at the E-Conference on Education in Anambra State. Yours sincerely moderated the very first panel on the event. Catch up right here.
The Light TV show, showing on ABS television Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m.
This is still the E-Conference on Education in Anambra State, and I am Ify Aronu-Okafor, the moderator for the very first panel discussion on this very critical engagement. I'm joined by seasoned analysts who will be talking about how we should identify the new normal. They will be describing that from their point of view. Let's welcome Reverend Father Pascal Onwubuenu, who is the Education Secretary of the Archdiocese of Onitsha. Reverend, it's good to have you.
Thank you, the moderator.
And also on this panel, we have with us the Honorable Commissioner for Basic Education here in Anambra State, Professor Kate Omenugha. Prof, it's good to have you too.
Thank you.
And of course, Tina Atuchufu, who is the principal of CSS Ichi, and as well, the president of All Nigeria Confederation of Principals of Secondary Schools, that's ANCOPS, is also here with us. Good to have you as well, Tina. Now, let us also welcome someone who's joining us live online. We have Segun Olukoya, all the way from Lagos, and he's the executive director of NextZen. Segun, I hope you can hear me loud and clear. It's good to have you as well.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, now, this is the foundation of the whole conversation. Let us hit it right away. What is this new normal that everyone is talking about? Prof should set the pace while others follow.
Well, thank you, Ify, for this question. What is the new normal? Number one, I want us to understand clearly that the new normal is anything but ordinary. Anything but ordinary. If you understand it that way, to begin to help you to visualize how it relates to education. New normal, anything that is not ordinary. There are things we are used to doing, and suddenly those things are no longer tenable. Those things are out, and maybe there's a blending of that thing and other things that are also possible. We say that that is the new normal. Number two, when you talk about the new normal, you have to think about how you can begin to unlearn the things that are used to. Begin to unlearn the things that you are used to. For example, in the normal, you have in the education, you are used to face-to-face teaching, you are used to rows of desks, the students will all sit together, you are used to that. We are used to heavy bags being carried and books. We are used to that. We are used to mass lecture, public exams, all in a physical space. We are used to that. Now suddenly the new normal arrives, and you begin to see there is a shift in the place you communicate. For example, like the e-conference that we are doing now, if this were in the normal, the one I call the normal, the ordinary, you would have been in a big place, maybe in Iraq or anywhere, and people will come together and begin to think about it.
Okay.
But suddenly we are saying, no, this is a virtual conference. This is an e-conference. That is the new normal.
Okay.
It also means that you can have your personal devices before you. It is not enough that you have some personal devices like your phone, your laptops, your palm tops, or whatever. You now communicate with people from your personal devices.
Let's bring Reverend Father now into the conversation. What's the new normal?
Thank you, the moderator. To my mind, the new normal in education are those new regular conditions under which we have to deliver teaching and learning. The things that used to be unusual and unfamiliar, they turn around now to become the standard, the usual, and the expected. For example, when you come to our families, parents will now begin to accept that their domestic place will now double as their formal learning place. They have to also provide the structure for their students to learn, their children, which hitherto the teachers in schools are providing. They may also have to cut down on their social engagement in order to monitor the academic engagement of their children. Also, you would imagine that they will lose some privacy because they will be sharing their smartphones and their laptops with their children.
Okay, Mrs. Tina Atuchukwu, I will also lend us her thoughts on this.
The new normal is a kind of shift from the usual way in education, whereby teachers stay in a physical class or place and face their students. But now, they have to rethink of how they are going to deliver this lesson to the students without coming in contact. Although it is still delivering the lesson, but they have to do it in such a way that it is not what we may refer to as the traditional method of doing it. They now use maybe voice notes. Think of how they use the voice notes, CDs, to get these lessons delivered to their students. Now, when you talk about voice notes, exactly what are you referring to? I mean, whereby now the teacher will record the lesson to be delivered to the students, and then maybe through WhatsApp, now it gets to the learners.
I also joined online about the kind of the NUT that's the OB package. Online. So what people will talk to just about it. And even now, the first question about the norm, just proceeding on the old system.
Okay, thank you very much. I think a new normal is something that helps you. It almost questions everything you know about that particular situation. Nothing is impossible. It gives you an opportunity to leapfrog. I think the last two speakers talked about new things they've seen, voice notes, technology. Those are things that you did not think possible 4-5 months ago. What it also, a new normal also lets you do is operate at standards that are global. The same things that are happening in Nigeria today are the same things happening in Ghana, Brazil, and several other countries.
Okay, now that we are forced to transit and adapt to the new normal, and what do you see as challenges that we're already facing as a country at this time and as a state? Anambra is a state, and of course you're in Lagos. You can give us a sense of the peculiar challenges that states might face at this time. Shegun, we're still with you, yes.
So one of the first things that I think a state or an education sector faces in a time like this is, and I'll speak to it from the economics part, the economics of running a school. I think COVID essentially shocked everybody. It was not thought that schools will not resume. And immediately that happened, schools ran into challenges, financial challenges, teachers faced challenges, I guess especially the private schools. And we saw that more in Lagos, especially. Now, one of the first things this kind of thing is going to let us focus on is how do we develop the economics of schools, because it is not sustainable where a challenge comes, children are not in school, and suddenly everything goes upside down. So the role of the administrator in working and thinking through that is something that we've seen and will be extremely critical going forward.
Okay, now let's talk about the family. And essentially, we're talking of parents and children. What are the challenges that they're already facing as they embrace this new normal?
Thank you so much, moderator. Building on what Shegun said, that it's not acceptable that our children are at homes and they're not studying. So how can we reach them? There are so many platforms that are being deployed by schools to get this done. But in doing that, you find out some challenges like accessibility, affordability, quality, and effectiveness. Now, the professor of Commissioner for Basic Education mentioned in the intro about children who are living beyond the road.
Yeah.
That means, how can they access these platforms of learning? Now, the second point is the affordability. Even those who can access, can they fund it? Can they afford to get the data through which they can access the instructions that have been delivered online? Now, you talk about the quality. What are the stuff, the quality of the material being pushed online by teachers? How do you ensure quality? And now, at the end of the day, what you want to get is that the students are learning. How can you measure effectiveness? These are some of the challenges faced by us as we deliver online teaching.
Take a question, and this one is from HM Ujunwa, and HM says, Mr. Shegun, well done. Technological devices for teaching is very nice, but remember that we still have poor power supply in the country. Thank you so much for your message and keep it coming. Now we're going over now to Mrs. Tina Atuchukwu to give us a sense of the challenges that teachers, you're a principal, so tell us the challenges that teachers come to you saying, oh, these are my challenges, this is why I cannot teach online and all. What can you tell us on that?
With this pandemic, teachers are forced to think, readjust of how education can be delivered and accessed by students. And these teachers begin to work together, thinking of how these materials, the resources can get to the students. Because many of them are not used to this online teaching, they begin to collaborate. Those who have the knowledge better than others started helping others. A kind of micro teaching. By so doing, other teachers came in, and not only that, the way they write their lesson notes, they now put it in PowerPoint.
Okay.
And evidence is teaching on air, which Anambra State is one of the states that started it in Nigeria. Before this, teaching was not going on in the mass media. But with this crisis or pandemic, you see that there is adjustment by teachers.
Okay, thank you.
There is commitment by teachers.
We got your point. And that's it on today's exciting experience on the Light TV show. Special thanks to you for joining me today. I am Ify Aronu-Okafor. Thank you for always being here for me. And huge thanks to Big Joe behind the camera and Ogugo Okeke. And as well, Ike Aniaboso, who also assisted this production. Huge thanks as well to James Eze, the Chief Press Secretary here in Anambra State, and of course the entire Governor's Media team for giving us the opportunity to do this on this day. Remember to follow The Light TV Show on all our online platforms. On Facebook, it's The Light TV Show. On YouTube, The Light TV Show. On Twitter and Instagram, The Light TV Show 01. See you next time and keep watching The Light TV Show.